A man is invited to a posh private golf course by his boss. The place is great. They enjoy a round of golf, and at the clubhouse the boss says, "Get yourself a shower while I talk to my friends here. I'll see you in the restaurant." He goes in, turns left to the showers, and is just coming out of a stall when he hears female voices. He's in the women's section. He realizes the man, with his street clothes, was right at the entrance, in full view of the restaurant patrons. All he has is a towel, and he knows he'd be mortified going into lunch if he's seen running from the women. It strikes him. Hide his head, not his privates, and he'll stay anonymous. He dashes across the entry to a chorus of hoots and laughter. "Well, he certainly wasn't my husband," says one well-dressed lady. "Not mine either," says another. A few more women attest to the same. Then an attractive young blonde stands and states, "Why, he's not even a member of the club." A door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman knocks on a woman's door. The woman answers, and the salesman says, "Lady, I have the best damn vacuum cleaner in the whole world." Before she could decline, he invited himself in. "Lady," he said, "this vacuum cleaner can suck up anything. In fact, if you leave it running, it'll probably suck the carpet up." The woman was very irritated at this point, but the man would not stop talking. He walked over to the fireplace in her living room, picked up a handful of ashes, and threw them on the carpet. He also dumped a bag of trash he was carrying onto the carpet as well. The woman was aghast, but he continued, "Lady, if this vacuum can't suck up all of this from your carpet," he said, as he produced a plastic spoon from his pocket, "I will eat all of it from the ground with this spoon." "Well," she said smugly, "you better start eating, sir, because we don't have any electricity." A couple are having dinner at a nice restaurant. A lovely young woman walks up to the table, kisses the man on the cheek, and says, "See you later, sweetie," before walking away. The wife is livid. "Who the hell was that? And what did she mean about seeing you later?" "That's just my mistress, Laura." "You have a mistress? And she has the nerve to walk up to us in public? This is unforgivable. I want a divorce." "Honey, she means nothing to me. Just a bit of harmless fun. I love you, and I want us to live a long life together. Not after the way you humiliated me tonight. Look, I'll make sure that she doesn't do anything like that again." "You mean you're going to see her again?" "Of course. Divorce. You need to think this through. We have a prenup. If we divorce, you'll be comfortable, but at a very different level. No more taking the jet to Paris for shopping. No more beach house. No more cruises on the yacht. Even dinners like this won't be common." She is quiet for a while. Then she says, "Isn't that Ted from the club? Who's he with? It isn't Stella." "That's Ted's mistress. I think her name is Christy or Chrissy or something like that." Ours is prettier." An older woman, well past childbearing years, went to a walk-in clinic where she was seen by a young new doctor. After about 3 minutes in the exam room, the doctor told her she was pregnant. She burst out the door, screaming as she ran down the hall. An older doctor stopped her and asked her what the problem was, and she told him what had happened. After hearing her out, he sat her down in another exam room and marched back to where the first doctor was and demanded, "What is the matter with you? That lady is over 60 years old and has 4 grown children and several grandchildren, and you told her she was pregnant?" The young doctor continued to write on his clipboard, and without looking up, he asked, "Does she still have the hiccups?" A woman was in bed with her lover when she heard her husband opening the front door. "Hurry!" she said. "Stand in the corner." She quickly rubbed baby oil all over him, and then she dusted him with talcum powder. "Don't move until I tell you to," she whispered. "Just pretend you're a statue." "What's this, honey?" the husband inquired as he entered the room. "Oh, it's just a statue," she replied nonchalantly. "The Smiths bought one for their bedroom. I liked it so much I got one for us, too." No more was said about the statue, not even later that night when they went to sleep. Around 2 in the morning, the husband got out of bed, went to the kitchen, and returned a while later with a sandwich and a glass of milk. "Here," he said to the statue, "eat something. I stood like an idiot at the Smith's for 3 days and nobody offered me so much as a glass of water." 3 guys were talking in the local bar. The manager was so sure that its bouncer was the strongest man around that it offered a standing $1,000 bet that no one could beat him. The challenge was that the landlord would squeeze a lemon until all the juice ran out into a beer glass, then hand the lemon to the customer. Anyone who could squeeze even one more drop out of the lemon would win the money. Over the years, many people had tried this. Truck drivers, weightlifters, karate masters, and all had failed. Then one day this geeky little fellow with heavy black-rimmed glasses came into the bar and asked if he could try the challenge. After the laughter had subsided, the landlord said that it was only fair that the man be given a chance at the bet, so he picked up a lemon and started squeezing. Once he was done, he handed the remains to the little man, who promptly squeezed out 4 more drops of juice onto the bar. Everyone looked on in amazement as the landlord handed over the prize and asked, "What do you do for a living that has given you such strength? Are you a lumberjack, a weightlifter, or what?" "No," the man replied. "I work for the IRS." A guy sits down in a movie theater and notices that the man in front of him has brought his dog with him. A guy sits down in a movie theater and notices that the man in front of him has brought his dog, and it's sitting in the seat next to him. He thinks it's unusual, but he likes dogs, so he decides that as long as it's not a distraction, he won't mention it. The movie starts, and pretty soon there's a funny part. The dog makes some low woofing sounds that seem like laughter. In a little while there's a sad part and the dog appears to be weeping. This continues throughout the film, and the man sitting behind the dog is astounded. When the lights come up, he taps the dog's owner on the shoulder and tells him, "I gotta say, and I know it sounds weird, but it seemed like your dog really enjoyed this movie." The dog owner looks at the dog and nods. "I know, it really is weird," he says, because he absolutely hated the book. Bill and Ted were at a bar. Bill asked, "Hey, where's Dave? Why isn't he here tonight?" "Dave is dead," said Ted. "How?" Ted said, "Well, he was supposed to pick me up, but when he got to my house, he hit my Ferrari in the driveway, flew through his own windshield, and crashed through my kitchen window." "What a terrible way to die." "Well, no, that didn't kill him. He tried to get up off of my kitchen floor, and he grabbed the handle of my refrigerator door for balance, but the fridge tipped over. It knocked down my china cabinet as well, and everything fell on him." "Flattened by a refrigerator? That's horrible." "That didn't kill him either. He managed to stand up, but he fell again, this time into my fireplace. He caught on fire and started running frantically about. Everything he touched caught on fire, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain." "That's the worst thing yet. Oh man, poor Dave." "No, he was still alive after that." "Wait, he survived all that? How exactly did he die?" "Well, I shot him. He was destroying my house." A despondent young woman who had lost her job and her house had decided to commit suicide. She was walking along a bridge across the harbor, getting the nerve to jump in, when a young man saw her. "Don't do it," he called out. He looked at her and realized she was incredibly beautiful. He came closer. "What's wrong?" he asked. The woman told him. "Okay, here's the thing," he said. "I'm a crew member on a ship that leaves for Europe tomorrow morning. How about you come with me on the ship? I'll bring you food and drink." He slid his arm around her. "I keep you happy. You keep me happy." She agreed. After all, there wasn't much else to do. She didn't have family. The man was quite handsome as well. No harm in trying. The next morning, he hid her in one of the lifeboats on the ship with a pillow and a blanket. Every night, he brought her 3 sandwiches and a piece of fruit, and they made love until dawn. One day, about a week after the affair started, the captain was doing his rounds and found her inside one of the lifeboats. "What the hell are you doing here?" She explained what was going on. I get food and a trip to Europe, and he gets to screw me. He sure does, sweetheart. This is the Sydney Harbor Ferry. A passenger airplane is flying over the ocean, when all of a sudden the plane experiences a violent jolt. The captain comes over the speaker and says, "We have experienced engine failure, and unfortunately, there is nothing we can do. The plane is going down." While the passengers are contemplating certain death, a woman stands up, rips off her blouse, and yells, "My entire life I have never been with a man. Is there a man on board who will make me feel like a woman before I die?" Just then, a man stands up in the back and yells, "I will." He approaches the woman and takes off all of his clothes, and she also takes off her clothes. There they are, both naked, staring intensely into each other's eyes. The man then hands her his clothes and says, "Here, wash these for me, will you?" Several years ago, Andy was sentenced to prison. During his stay, he got along well with the guards and all his fellow inmates. The warden saw that deep down, Andy was a good person and made arrangements for Andy to learn a trade while doing his time. After 3 years, Andy was recognized as one of the best carpenters in the local area. Often he would be given a weekend pass to do odd jobs for the citizens of the community, and he always reported back to prison before Sunday night was over. The warden was thinking of remodeling his kitchen and, in fact, had done much of the work himself. But he lacked the skills to build a set of kitchen cupboards and a large countertop, which he had promised his wife. So he called Andy into his office and asked him to complete the job for him. But alas, Andy refused. He told the warden, "Gosh, I'd really like to help you, but counterfeiting is what got me into prison in the first place." A man kisses his wife goodbye and leaves to work early in the morning. His wife calls her 2 lovers to come in just as her husband leaves. No less than 2 hours later, the husband arrives. "Quick, hide! It's my husband," she says to the 2 men. The first guy hides in the attic, and the second one hides under the bed. The man enters the bedroom, seemingly disappointed and sad. "Honey, I got bad news," he says to his wife. "Oh, my dear, what is it?" "Well, first I got fired from work." "Oh, hun, don't worry. He who is up there shall provide for us." "And I got into a car accident." "Don't worry, for he who is up there shall provide for us." "And the fault was mine, and I'm not insured." "Don't worry, my love, for he who is up there shall provide for us." The first man hiding in the attic jumped out visibly furious. "I'm not providing nothing. How about you tell the other guy under the bed to provide, huh?" A guy and his date decide to go to Lover's Lane. It's their 3rd date, and the guy is really excited to take things to the next level, but they're both clearly kind of shy about it. So after they park, he asks if she wants to make out. She agrees enthusiastically, and they start kissing. After a little bit, he pauses and says, "Hey, do you want to get in the back seat?" She smiles shyly, lowers her gaze, and shakes her head no. But they get back to kissing. After some more time, things are starting to heat up. He's made it to second base, the windows are fogging, and again he asks, "Do you want to get in the back seat?" And again she says no. A little while later, they're practically half naked, things are getting hot, and he asks again, "Hey, do you want to get in the back seat?" And when she says no, this time he stops and sits back. "Listen, I don't know, but it seems like you're really enjoying this," he says. "Oh, I am," she exclaims, worried that they've stopped. "And maybe I'm being forward, but I'd like to take things to the next level." He raises his eyebrows. "Oh, me too. I'd like that very much." He turns to face her directly and cries out in exasperation, "Well then, why don't you want to get in the back seat?" She looks up at him, tears welling in her eyes, brow furrowed in dismay, and whispers, "But I want to stay up here with you." "Helen," he said, "we've been through so much together. Do you remember when the shop burned down and we lost everything of value we had in this world? We had to start over from nothing, but you were by my side." His wife solemnly replied, "I remember, dear." "Helen," he continued, "when our son was killed in that terrible car accident, I was heartbroken. I didn't think I could go on, but you were by my side." His wife began to softly cry. "I know, dear." "And now," the man went on, "I'm about to leave this world. In my final moments, where are you?" His wife sobbed, "Right here by your side, dear." "Helen," the man said, "I'm beginning to think you might be bad luck." A nurse at a care home was making her rounds when she glanced into one of the rooms. To her shock, she saw an elderly woman kissing on her husband's package. She quickly stepped inside. "Mrs. Phillips, you can't do that." The old lady looked up innocently. "Why not? I've always enjoyed it." The nurse sighed. "Yes, ma'am, but it was meant to be buried with the rest of him." Earl and his wife Edna went to the state fair every year, and every year Edna would say, "Earl, I'd like to ride in that helicopter." Earl always replied, "I know, honey, but that helicopter ride is $50, and $50 is $50. One year, Earl and Edna went to the fair, and Edna said, "Earl, I'm 85 years old, and if I don't ride that helicopter, I might never get another chance." To this, Earl replied, "Edna, that helicopter ride is $50, and $50 is $50. The pilot overheard the couple and said, "Folks, I'll make you a deal. I'll take the both of you for a ride. If you can stay quiet for the entire ride and not say a word, I won't charge you a penny. But if you say one word, it's $50. Earl and Edna agreed, and up they went. The pilot did all kinds of fancy maneuvers, but not a word was heard. He did his daredevil tricks over and over again, but still not a word. When they landed, the pilot turned to Edna and said, "By golly, I did everything I could to get you to yell out, but you didn't. I'm impressed." Edna replied, "Well, to tell you the truth, I almost said something when Earl fell out, but you know, $50 is $50. A plane crashes in the Pacific Ocean. The only survivors are 5 men and a gorgeous woman. After a few days, they end up on a desert island. After several failed attempts to get in contact with the outside world, they give up and come to terms with the fact that they have to spend the rest of their lives on this island. They quickly acquire the necessary skills to build houses and live off the land. All goes well, except for the fact that the men are constantly fighting over the lady. After several conflicts, they organize a meeting and conclude that there is only one way to solve this problem. Each of the men gets 1 day of the week to share with the woman, and on the weekends she has some time for herself. This arrangement, although controversial, works amazingly well for a couple of years. But then, on a tragic day, the woman dies. The first week after her death is hard for the men. In the second week, the frustrations really start to build up. In the third week, they realize that nothing will ever be the way it was. In the fourth week, the situation becomes unbearable. So after 5 weeks, they finally decided to bury her. A man walks into a bar and orders a whiskey. The barkeep says, "That'll be 2 pence. 2 pence? Said the man. "That's cheap. Do you sell food?" "Yep," said the barkeep. "All right, I'll have a steak and chips," replied the man. "Sure," said the barkeep. "That's also 2 pence. "Goodness me," said the man. "How can you charge so little?" "Are you the owner?" "Nope, but I'm a friend of the owner," replied the barkeep. "Well, where's the owner?" asked the man. "Oh, he's upstairs with my wife," replied the barkeep. "What's he doing upstairs with your wife?" asked the man. "The same thing I'm doing to his business," replied the barkeep. A cowboy walks into a bar. "What can I get for you?" the bartender asks. "A double whiskey, neat," he replies. As the bartender pours, she asks, "How's it going today?" "I have a problem with my horses," the cowboy admits. "I want to train one of them to be a racehorse and the other to be a workhorse, but they look so similar I can't tell them apart. The bartender thinks it over for a minute and says, "How about you cut off one of their manes?" "That's actually a great idea," the cowboy says. 1 month later, the cowboy returns to the bar, looking depressed again. The bartender asks, "How are your horses?" "The mane trick worked great at first, but then the hair grew back and I can't tell them apart." She suggests, "Can you shave the hair off one of their tails?" "That just might work," the cowboy replies. Another month passes. The cowboy returns, distraught. "Their tails and manes are the same length again," he complains. Exasperated, the bartender asks, "Can't you just measure their height or something?" A week later, the cowboy runs in joyously and hugs the surprised bartender. "What's going on?" the bartender asks. "It worked! The white horse is 3 inches taller than the black horse." Two girls were showering together at the gym, chatting away, when one of them noticed something and asked with surprise, "Hey, how come you don't have any hair down there?" The other girl burst out laughing and replied, "Oh, you silly. Haven't you heard? Where there's heavy traffic, nothing has time to grow." A man hasn't been to church for a long while and decides he'd better go to confession before starting to go again. When he enters the confessional box, he's amazed to find that it's got a bar lined with the finest whiskeys and a huge array of the finest cigars. As he's looking at this in wonder, the priest comes in. The man says, "Father, forgive me. It's a long time since my last confession. I must say, though, that the confessional box is much better than it used to be." The priest says, "Get out, you idiot. You're on my side." A hard-working man was fed up. "Why am I the one out at work all day while my wife gets to stay home?" he grumbled. "She has it easy. I'd trade places in a heartbeat." That night he looked up and prayed, "Dear God, please let my wife see what I go through, and let me live her life for just one day. I need her to understand how hard I work." To his surprise, God answered, "Wish granted." The next morning, the man woke up and found himself in his wife's body. "All right," he thought, "how hard can this be?" He got up and began her daily routine, made breakfast, laid out clothes, got the kids ready and off to school, picked up the dry cleaning, stopped by the bank, bought groceries, came home, put it all away, paid the bills, cleaned the litter box, bathed the dog. And that was just the morning. By the afternoon he was making beds, sweeping, vacuuming, mopping, doing laundry, picking up the kids and breaking up arguments in the back seat, helping with homework, serving snacks, ironing while half-watching cartoons. At 4:30 it was time to peel potatoes, make salad, bread, pork chops, snap green beans. After dinner he cleaned the kitchen, folded more laundry, bathed the kids and tucked them in. By 9 p.m. he collapsed into bed, completely drained. But wait. He was still expected to perform as a loving partner that night. Somehow he did. The next morning he dropped to his knees and prayed again. "Lord, I was so wrong. I had no idea. Please switch us back. I'll never complain again." God replied, "I think you've learned your lesson. I'll gladly return things to how they were. But you'll have to wait 9 months. You got pregnant last night." 2 babies were chilling in their cribs when one leaned over and whispered, "Hey, do you know if you're a boy or a girl?" The other baby shrugged, giggling. "I'm not really sure. How do you even tell?" The first baby grinned. "No worries. I'll investigate." He crawled out of his crib and into the other one like a little detective on a mission. A few moments passed under the blanket. Then he popped up, grinning from ear to ear. "I figured it out," he announced proudly. "You're a girl, and I'm a boy." The second baby blinked. "Wait, how do you know?" He pointed confidently. "You're wearing pink socks. I've got blue ones." I spent $3,800 on a purebred breeding goat. Top of the line, registered, fancy beard and all. I turned him loose with my herd of does. and he just stood there, sniffed the grass, nibbled on a fence post. Looked like he was doing goat yoga. Not even a glance at the ladies. At that point, I figured I'd accidentally bought a monk with hooves. So I called the vet to see what was going on. He checked him out and said, "Healthy as can be, maybe just a little bashful." Then he gave me these little pellets. "Give him one a day," he said. "It'll help." Well, by day 2, that goat turned into a 4-legged casanova. He was chasing every doe in sight. Jumped a fence and started visiting the neighbor's pasture like it was speed dating night. And the weirdest part? Those little pellets smelled like peppermint. I accidentally licked one, and now I'm worried I might climb a tree or something. The teacher asked us in class, "What's your favorite animal?" Without even thinking, I said, "Fried chicken." The class lost it. Everyone was laughing, except the teacher. She said, "That's not funny." But if laughter is the test, I think I passed. Later, I told my dad what happened. He chuckled and said, "Maybe your teacher's one of those people who really love animals. Like really love them." I said, "Well, I love animals too, especially when they're crispy and seasoned." Apparently that wasn't the right answer because the next thing I knew, I was in the principal's office. He heard the whole story. And guess what? He laughed too. Then he said, "Just maybe don't say that again." The very next day, the teacher tried again. "Okay," she said. "What's your favorite living animal?" I smiled and said, "Chicken." She narrowed her eyes. "Why chicken?" I replied, "Because when they're done living, they turn into fried chicken." Back to the principal's office I went. He just sighed, laughed again, and said, "You've got to stop doing this to me." Today, the teacher gave me one more chance. She asked, "Who's a famous person you admire?" I stood up proudly and said, "Colonel Sanders." Guess where I'm writing this from? A struggling handyman was walking home one evening when he spotted a leather wallet lying near the curb. Inside, he found $7,000 in cash, neatly stacked. No ID, no cards, just money. A few days later, he came across a flyer posted on a nearby shop window. "Lost wallet. $500 reward. Please return. No questions asked." It had a phone number and a name, a local businessman known for his wealth and, frankly, his arrogance. Honest to the core, the man called the number, met the owner, and handed over the wallet. The businessman flipped through the bills, paused, and narrowed his eyes. "This isn't right," he said coldly. "There was $7,500 in here. You must have helped yourself to the reward." "Sir, I didn't take a penny," the man replied, offended. "Then you returned it short," the businessman snapped. "You're no hero, you're a thief." They ended up in court. The poor man told his side of the story first, how he found the wallet exactly as it was and chose to do the right thing. Then the businessman stood and ended his speech with smug confidence. "Your Honor, I trust that a man like you will believe someone like me." The judge nodded. "Of course I do." The businessman smirked. The poor man's heart sank. But then the judge reached over, took the wallet, and handed it back to the poor man. "Your Honor, what are you doing?" the businessman protested. The judge looked him in the eye and said calmly, "You are an honest man, correct? And you say your wallet had $7,500 in it?" "Yes, exactly." "Well, this wallet only has $7,000, so clearly it's not yours." The courtroom went silent. "If this man," the judge continued, pointing to the poor man, "were a thief, he never would have returned it at all, which means the real owner may still be out there. Until someone comes forward with proof, this wallet stays with the man who turned it in." "And what about my money?" the businessman cried. The judge shrugged. "We'll just have to wait until someone finds your wallet." A young couple had just gotten married, and they spent their wedding night doing what most newlyweds do, celebrating their love again and again, all night long. The next morning, the husband hopped in the shower while his new bride relaxed in bed. When he finished, he realized he had forgotten to grab a towel. "Sweetheart," he called out, "can you bring me a towel, please?" She walked over to the bathroom with the towel in hand. When he opened the door to take it, there he stood, dripping wet and completely exposed. Her eyes widened as she glanced down, then back up, then back down, and stopped halfway. With a puzzled look, she pointed and asked, "Wait, what's that?" He hesitated, slightly embarrassed, and replied, "That's what we had so much fun with last night." She paused, looked even more confused, and asked innocently, "Oh, is that all that's left?"